Box office top 10 at 17, The Exorcist 50th anniversary reissue.
I had the great privilege of introducing this on stage at the Belfast QFT, which is a
Does
lovely
that mean you
cinema.
stand up and go, ladies and gentlemen, The Exorcist, and then bow and get off?
I was literally told that I had 10 minutes. And so what I did was I got my phone and I set an alarm on it so that it would go off after 10 minutes so that I could stop and get off the thing. And it was lovely, and it was a sold-out screening. It was the third of those that I've done. I did one at the BFI South Bank and I did one at Fright Fest, all of which were sold out. It gave me great pleasure to be able to see a full cinema watching a 50-year-old movie, many people seeing it on the big screen for the first time in an absolutely, beautiful, pristine form, and in the version you've never seen, as it was called when it first came out. A masterpiece that has aged brilliant.
Number 10, Toy Story, week 1,347.
Oh, a masterpiece that has aged brilliantly.
Yes. Number 9 is Dumb Money,
which I enjoyed. I know it does a certain amount of simplification, but that's fine because dramatically it works well. And Paul Dano, as the person who is behind the GameStop, defense, I think does it really, really well.
Also, simplification is called for.
Of course it's called for. It's like, it's an under 2 hour movie and it's a complicated issue.
At number 8 is The Old Oak.
How much more Ken Loach could it be? None more Ken Loach. It is a very, very Ken Loach film.
I missed a thing.
You missed a thing?
Yeah. Then we get to the Expendables.
Expendables.
If you buy a ticket, if you go up to the box office
I want
say,
a ticket for Expendables.
Is that what you would say?
That's what I would say. And they would go, do you mean Expendables 4? And I'd say, no, I want a ticket for Expendables in the same way as I bought a ticket for Sir Severin and Van Forstick.
Well, M.M. Waddingham says, Dear Dr. Stallone and Dr. Statham, I have yet to have the unique pleasure of expending 4 balls with Jason Statham, although my awful nephew is a fan of the series, so I'm sure I'll catch up eventually. Having seen the previous film, I'm convinced Sylvester Stallone doesn't understand the meaning of the word expendable. Expendables 2 features a member of the Expendables being captured and the rest of the team rescuing them, meaning said member is literally not expendable. Expendables 3 opens with the Expendables rescuing a teammate from prison, so again, said team member is not expendable.
And Expendables does exactly the same thing.
Other favourite examples of films that don't understand their own title, new feature possibly.
Well, the first one is clearly Unstoppable, in which
Tony Scott's Unstoppable, in which a runaway train proves to be very stoppable, and David Ayer's Suicide Squad, in which a team assembled for suicide missions are sent on a rescue mission, the opposite of a suicide mission. Can you or your listeners think of any other examples? That is very, very true. If you're expendable, you don't go and rescue. If they're in prison, they're completely expendable. P.S. The publication of my first novella, Only in the Hottest Years, A Predator Love Story, has been severely delayed due to a legal issue with the studios, but I'm sure some of your more enterprising listeners will be able to find it online. Then he says, cough, fanfiction.net, cough, which I obviously haven't performed properly. And PPS, why isn't the delightful Nigel Havers in more films? These and other questions are asked by M.M. Waddingham, writing about the Expendables, which is this week's number 7. Number 6, Stop Making Sense, remastered.
It is one of the great concert movies of all time. In fact, I included it in the list I did for The Observer a year or so ago of the 25 greatest concert movies. And Talking Heads at the very height of their powers and a brilliantly directed movie.
What have we got here? Number 5 is The Equalizer 3.
Which is fine. It's kind of good fun. It does what it says in the tin. It's got, it's nasty when it needs to be nasty, and it's got a good central performance.
The Nun 2 is at number 4.
Which is rubbish. And it's, we did all the Nun 2 impressed, Nun 2 pleased, Nun 2 scared.
But
don't want any more of these, but it's doing very well. And then I have to warn you in advance that The Nun will come up again in this programme.
There'll be a whole convent of them by the time they're finished.
Yes, no, but in relation to another movie.
A Haunting in Venice is at number 3.
It's the 50th anniversary of Don't Look Now this month. And it is interesting how whenever anyone does a film in Venice, particularly a film that has haunting in the title, part of you is thinking, I do love Don't Look Now.
But in general, it's done very well.
It's great. I think Branagh really enjoying himself with it, and I think it's certainly the most visually adventurous of those films. And I could watch him do Poirot forever.
Number 2 in the UK and number 2 in the States is Sorks, Saw X, Saw 10. Matt says, Dear Hoffman and Amanda, I was intrigued to hear you discuss both WAP and Saw X being funny in the same show, as I listened to Mark's review after discussing both these very things in the lobby with my friend afterwards. When I first heard WAP, I laughed from beginning to end. A colleague, not really sure why I was listening to it at work, said, you know, they don't mean it to be funny. It's meant as female empowerment. And maybe it is, but my argument then and now is that excess is funny. Turn up the levels of gratuitous anything, be it violence or sex, to 11 stupid, and huge swathes of the audience are going to laugh. That's part of the reason why we go and see these films like this anyway.
Yeah.
Saw X was another such lol fest for me. A line you wouldn't have written in The Observer, would you be writing?
I don't think I did write that. No.
Definitely passed the 6 laugh test with the line, now we have a rope, being the apotheosis of the silliness.
That's great.
But the rest of the familiar Saw tropes are there too, the twists, the political commentary, and those weird 360 shaky camera swoops around some poor sap who has to feed their liver into a shredder to save their neck or something. Mark's absolutely right when he says this is one of the better Saw films. Yeah. For this particular reviewer, it's only beaten by 1, 3 and 6, and I'm looking forward to seeing it and chuckling like Ken Branagh in an interview all over again. Loving the shawl sleeve, says Matt. Saw X at number 2.
Well, I think that pretty much covers it all. That there is that thing about Grand Guignol and the theatre of excess, and yeah, I sat next to Alan Jones, who said to me, so many people came up to me and said that my name came up in your review of Saw X. What did you say about me? That we did laugh. You know, we enjoyed it because it's if you're going to make a Saw movie, that's the one to make.
Right.
You're not going to see it.
I am not going to see any of them.
But all I can say is, on the subject of rope, intestines.
Which brings us to the top of the hit parade.
Yes.
And it's so this is slightly, because of the way the guests and releases have fallen, we're actually going to be talking to Gareth Edwards very shortly.
This is partly in this weird time of strikes, which I may be coming to, but it's congratulations to the team for getting through all of this strange time.
Absolutely. So that's why directors who are free to, so I'm only talking to directors at the moment, pretty much. There are more directors to come. But as we said before, the great thing about talking to directors is they are so involved in the project. It's their gig.
Yes.
In a way that actors aren't. Anyway, so Gareth Edwards' new movie is number 1 in the UK, number 3 in the States. It is The Creator. We'll just do one email and then we'll take a break, and then you'll hear Gareth Edwards. Yeah. And then we'll do some more emails. John, LTL. So, Mark, listening to the podcast as I drove to see The Creator, I had calculated that, at best, I would get to the laughter lift, but not any headliner reviews, so I was nervous when the creator-related chat began early in my journey. Relieved by your positivity, I was excited, and I quickly bought into the world-building of this talented director. I'm teaching here in Thailand, and the way Edwards presented the juxtaposed Asian stance on AI was believable and an intriguing fresh take on the feature. There was so much to like in the film, especially the real-world sets and, as you said, the Nomad, which is the big thing in the sky.
Which is Skybase.
I think someone was very keen to say it's Cloudbase.
Cloudbase. I'm so sorry.
It was a Captain Scarlet aficionado.
Absolutely. I stand 100% corrected, and I shall flagellate myself for having got that right. Cloudbase.
Go back and read it.
I'm so sorry.
But I did feel there were too many plot holes and apparent jumps in the narrative. They snapped me out of my happy place too many times, which is a shame. I love original science fiction, so I hope it does well. Down with all the birdsong-inducing usual suspects. From John. Now, what's interesting is that so he's teaching in Thailand, so he has it just will feel different if you're watching this kind of film in Thailand or Vietnam or Indonesia or any of the places that are referenced. And all of those topics will come up, including a story that Gareth Edwards has never told before. In just a moment.
Can I say very quickly one thing on a corrective? You said corrected for the cloud-based, Skybase. That's absolutely right. Yes, absolutely. But on the YouTube thing, under the review of Saw, a bunch of people said, oh, Mark Kermode referred to the Hostel movies as hotel. Yes, because that was the joke about the Hostel movies took so much money, they'd have to start calling them the hotel movies.
All right, so that was the joke. Oh. So people below the line...
Never go below the line.
And yet somehow you do. Thanks very much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it as much as we enjoyed making it. While you're here, check out all the other videos because they're cool too, aren't they?
Yeah, and if you want to keep up to date with everything Kermode and Mayo's take, then check out our social channels.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
I mean, I would. I have done.
Excellent.